moment to organize and to initiate something new. It's been a network maybe two and a half years in the making, but now we're finally coming to the point that we can announce it in the world, and that we also see it as an invitation, a public announcement for other groups and initiatives to join us. So we have it's kind of a critical mass. So, but we're going to first look at the introduction video of the Void in Amsterdam, which is the video streaming initiative of the Institute of Network Cultures, which is coordinated by Tommaso Campagna and
Culture is a research center based in Amsterdam. Well, we have a long trajectory on experimental publishing, digital publishing, and that's a bit also the other.
It's this what? Yeah.
This is a Culture is a research center based in Amsterdam.
What?
Well, we have a long trajectory on.
Yeah, but can you make it full screen?
Yeah, try not to.
Okay, but maybe use another browser.
Try to come from the perspective of publishing, publishing, and expand it to something that is not only formats, not only multimedia.
Because like this, you can't really see much. So, shall we do it in another browser? Or,
I can do this in another browser, but
De miért ilyen? Nem.
Anyone has an idea why we have this technical issue?
because we have too many devices.
Oh, too many devices. Okay. Device overload. It's up to the theorists to deeply understand and reflect on device overload. Yeah.
Then we have it what we want and hope the sound.
We have a long trajectory on experimental publishing, digital publishing, and that's a bit also the expanded publishing. The idea is like bringing both analog and digital, and try to come from the perspective of publishing, and expand it to something that is not only formats, not only multimedia communication and video, but also in our heart, also in the way in which in some way we kind of define this as a sort of communication. This is a string, right? This is an idea of like there is an urgency, then the urgency is about both communicating something but also being together. This is Local Culture is a research center based in Amsterdam. This is Local Culture is a research center based in Amsterdam. Well, we have a long trajectory on experimental publishing, digital publishing, and that's a bit also the other expanded publishing. The idea of like bringing both analog and digital, and try to come from the perspective of publishing, like book publishing, and expand it to something that is not only formats, not only like multimedia publication, video, but also in forms, also in the way in which you create a publication itself. In some way, we kind of define this as a sort of publication. This is a string, right? This is an idea of like there is an urgency, then the urgency is about both communicating something but also being together. The Void is a practice-based research project concerned with unexplored affordances of online video, podcast, live stream, or any other hybrid media form. More specifically, we look at the practices and tactics that touch from data extractive distribution models. Whether academic blog posts, video essay, or digital artwork are concerned, in the black box of most video sharing platforms, users are given little to no insight as how the content they are consuming came to be and the resources being used. Nevertheless, platforms create accessibility by providing the space in which collaborative practice occurs. Yet, platforms favor a specific approach to video making which is clean, manufactured, and advertisement friendly. The potential plurality of video making is highly present in the standardized stream of content, curated by a lucid algorithmic process. Thus, while video sharing platforms are making knowledge accessible to the public, they also effectively garner the condition of knowledge production in a centralized core of capitalist accumulation. Against this backdrop, the Void focuses on the increasing presence of video production in research practices by providing resources to critically work with this mediatic landscape, as well as sharing and supporting research practices that center a critical engagement with media. The Void aims to expand the role of digital audiovisual production practices as a research methodology. In research publication, more often than not, media production, be it audiovisual or any other form of artistic practice that isn't writing, is still seen as somehow inferior, mere support material, a figure that accompanies the text, the main act, and that would fail to be considered as a form of research itself. For the Void, producing, hosting, distributing, and consuming media is not about illustrating previously existing research or knowledge, but about doing things. Working with media is actively doing research. In this sense, by combating the primacy of text, the Void aspires to create the means and tools for practitioners not represented in current publishing industries. During the past year, the Void developed experimental methods for open source audiovisual production, hosting, and publishing, focusing on how to quickly and sustainably design, record, edit, and publish video for research purposes. These methods are composed of several multimedia publications documenting and sharing internal practices. The main series of the Void is focused on using a pop-up TV studio as a research methodology. While usually the goal of this form of production is the digital documenting for its later distribution and consumption, this series also regards the recording studio and the act of shooting itself. Thus, the recording process becomes a space and time of encounter between artist, musician, academic, web developer, and activist. In this sense, the voice studio and the process of audiovisual production become an event, an arrangement for knowledge production and sharing enabled by the processes of shooting and deferred digital transmission. In the future, the Void aspires to be a project that is not only internal to the Institute of Natural Cultural Research, but also and foremost open to external collaboration with independent artists, researchers, and collectives around the world, either virtually or physically. The objective of this collaboration is to collectively create frameworks of production and archives for audiovisual practices as expanded publishing. In order to achieve this goal, the Void is now planning to open a PeerTube instance in its own server. The question of digital archiving brings up the material question of hosting. Audiovisual content has a substantial data and environmental footprint. For this reason, through the adoption of PeerTube, the Void doesn't regard itself as a content creator on YouTube alternative, but as a collective practice of doing otherwise with audiovisual media. To sum up, the Void asks how can we make practice-based research more open, as well as how can we make a wide variety of experiences happen in and with audiovisual practices. To address this gap, we are seeking to rethink audiovisual publishing not as just a one-way street wherein to detach video researcher-controlled narrative, but rather as an open and shifting field where different encounters can happen. The implicit hierarchies in our ways of perceiving and acting in media, need criticism. And as these are intimately connected with a way of knowing, transforming the one means transforming the other. This is local culture is a
Maybe I will say a few words about UKRAiNATV because it's like a parallel world. and also, this is what I started to think after this conversation and my question. Maybe you are not artists, maybe you are mediators. And this is maybe a term that is supposed to be useful also for this meeting. UKRAiNATV, my name is Dziadkiewicz, I came from Krakow, and since the beginning of 2022, since the really beginning of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, we started to do UKRAiNATV. And it's based on the infrastructure, team, some intuitions came from a few years before that we started to do Stream Art Studio. And experimentation with streaming, and that we start to call it stream art as an intersection between people, machines, cables, real-time acting together, dispersion of authorship, dispersion of signals, and local and global way. And finally, we recognize that it's related to circular aesthetics, circular ethics, we also call it, and there's a process that is ongoing, that is like a permanent presence, and it's also facing that reality that we are still connected, and we are connected in very centralized and more centralized way. So this it was a kind of a tactical, at the beginning, tactical answer how to be connected in more network-related form, like back to the idea of Internet 01, the network of freedom, but also kind of a test, ongoing question about the possible of equal Web3. Because it was also in the moment that this strong movement of Web3 and Bitcoin rednecks start or grow up. And then, yeah, it was the set of context, also pandemic, of course. So we established like a kind of independent studio and started to do things together. And then we moved to the Intermedia faculty. So this is also important that we are transpersonal as a team, and it's like an energy circulation with people, because it's not only about streaming, it's about stream also as a metaphor, also as a, let's say, way of thinking about the production, distribution, and circulation of knowledge, energy, and relations. It's like a post-relational project also, or like a next version of relational activities. And so we are also transsectoral, because there is the foundation, there is a crew of people, which is like independent, also trans-regional, there's an international crew based in Krakow, but there are people, refugees from Ukraine, from Belarus, from Moldova, from Italy, from Poland, from other places. There is a core, it's the team is open. And yeah, what kind of transversal, for sure, because this is what started as a recognition of the gap between that's content production. It is doesn't sound good, but this is what we wanted to do, not in the inside of the art infrastructure, not inside in front of a white cube and museum of contemporary art, which is opening today or yesterday in Warsaw, which is also very important temporal context and moment that we are here talking about some alternative still to something what is growing, what is keeping power in this cultural production and the production of the imagination. And reproduction of itself, this production of luxury goods and inside of art market, art institutions, and so on. And then, yeah, we recognize that we are like in between some IT skills, media production, working with information, and still art, performance in front of cameras, and also that we recognize that everything is like a kind of the performance of people, machines, it's like a technological performance or something like that. Yeah? So it's like a symphony of transversal experiences. So then we start to ask people around, hello, we are here, hello world. Something happens, we have some intuitions, and then we start to also recognize that the similar intuitions are around. We start to collaborate with Institute of Network Culture and also other partners. And then I think this is what Hart mentioned at the beginning, the kind of the network is starting around the last months, weeks. I want to show a short trailer of UKRAiNATV now, and then I think we can start the conversation. Yeah?
This is what UKRAiNATV shows, is the power of doing things together.
UKRAiNATV is an internet TV station which makes hybrid togetherness. We are doing research, innovations in the intersection between art, media and science.
There is a streamer studio in Krakow, working well and daily. There is the Void in Amsterdam, and the goal of the project is to have a long-term collaboration with people in Kiev, and to have a studio in Kiev, and then we have like a model of the network.
Well, I should also say that we do it with politics of solidarity in the shadow of full Russian invasion on Ukraine.
UKRAiNATV mixes present, past and future, private, social, political and cultural contexts. It is fragile and unstable, just like our times. We broadcast from Krakow, which is 200 kilometers from Ukrainian border.
It's a global, hybrid, melting pot of people, machines, technologies, cables, different and parallel realities.
We are on the internet and in the hotspots of geopolitical tensions between West and East, North and South.
It's an open collective of artists, media freaks,
making hybrid togetherness.
Research, musicians, and DJ from Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, Italy, and other countries.
It is an artistic, social, political, and research-based project in one.
It's also an interception of bodies, realities, and avatars meeting in an hybrid space.
And trans-regional collaboration.
I'm from Severodonetsk, the eastern part of Ukraine. My hometown is occupied and almost destroyed. Many people like me have lost their home.
And there is also an issue in our society that we have a lot of anger.
We aim to build a robust, enduring network that will remain a beacon of hope, inclusivity and creativity long after the conflict has ended. Advertisement from Lovink. In the next few days there will be a live stream from there. Strength for Digital Inquiry.
then the map, which is like a more or less update about the network. And you're welcome. Here physically, there are two representatives of Vilnius node, one Amsterdam, and the others.
Maybe let's start here. Maybe introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Gytis and Adomas. Yeah, we're coming from Lithuania, from Vilnius, Kaunas, and previously we were very active in the Baltics generally, and I think still are. Yeah, we're creating spaces primarily for being together and enabling people to creatively express themselves while stimulating their imaginations of the future. And we are mostly curators and artists, like a collective of them. Now we're two. In total, like in the core team, I think it's like 6 people plus some people who are there on different times.
I'm András Bódai. I'm a student at the Budapest Intermedia University, and we joined this stream art collaboration about 1 year ago in February, and since then we've been making our own streams at Budapest.
Hi, I'm Anna Rybaltovszki. I'm also a student at Intermedia Department in Budapest, and yeah, welcome to Sugár. And I'm Blanka Bodnár, and yeah, we started this streaming thing here together with UKRAiNATV. So yeah,
maybe good to mention that there is kind of a tradition from the last 2 years that after 1 year of the anniversary of the beginning of the First War, we did 24 hours streaming event, hybrid event in our studio from Krakow, and also next year, in this year, and it was an occasion to be together to pass this very traumatic moment also for people from Ukraine who stay in Krakow still, and also to say something from our position and to invite people also in a hybrid way that's happen in that both events, and yeah, probably we will continue this.
So the first event you shared mainly with here in Krakow in 23, right? 24th of February. You did it for the first time, and then the second time in 24. We also joined from Amsterdam, but it was very special to have the students from the...
In 23, also took part from the Amsterdam, very short intervention. Yeah. It was very touching for us because it was really like a moment of in this like a real time mixing this audio video for both of us, for both sides. It was like a kind of experimental multi-layer experience, as I remember. And this is in your trailer.
Yeah, and maybe, Ron, is this running in the background? Can you show some video in the background? Or maybe, yeah? Yeah, maybe.
I can show something.
Yeah, just so that you can get a little bit of a better idea how...
maybe I can show the trailer from Budapest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We also have a
Oh, you have a trial.
Yeah,
okay.
we
Yeah, let's first look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
question your bass and kick to make it clear.
This is gonna be our sound room where we're gonna do music and sound stuff.
So it's in a way is the trailer for tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're slowly going through the founding members of the Stream Art Network. As you can see, we started off in Krakow, Amsterdam, Budapest, Vilnius, Kiev. Vilnius will come have a studio maybe in a month and will join us from there. I wanted to ask Gytis to say something about the very inspiring hybrid togetherness we had in the forest, in the deep forest of Lithuania, where there was a festival this summer. Where the Voice and your organization 3022 for the first time really collaborated after your stay in Amsterdam.
Yeah, thanks. It was astonishingly amazing experience. We have our practice as this 3022 is primarily originates from rave and party culture. So we wanted to incorporate artistic experiences and create very unique spaces for being within these events and bring some culture there. Therefore, we used to make different art pavilions, art and science, philosophy pavilions in festivals. Our best collaborators are Yaga Festival. It's the largest and I think the longest going non-conventional, so to say, a festival in the Baltics. Now it had I think 11th year when it was running. Many festivals closed, and for this occasion I think we had an amazing opportunity to collaborate with Void from Institute of Network Cultures, where they came and actually fulfilled, I think, what we do there by establishing a streaming studio. So we had we will show it in the evening during the streaming time, some photos from that event. We are kind of our practice is architecturally minded, so we had really kind of weird scaffolding structure. On the second floor there was a studio, and on the third floor there was a radio antenna, so we kind of hijacked a FM radio, which was more like a conceptual piece, because it's not a festival, nobody's going to turn on the radio, but still we had to do it because we can. And it was amazing.
Just a short remark. I now remember that we did during the pandemic also a New Year party with many different people connecting in a collective call. It was all night long, and we did also some kind of music and kind of similar vibe.
Even a yoga session at 4 a.m. That was extreme.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good reminder that at least some positive aspects of the network cultures during COVID remained, and of course COVID wasn't quite over when the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine started. So it was kind of a seamless experience, but then coming from winter into the war. Using similar technologies, but then in very different contexts and urgencies. I want to mention here Michael Dieter, who's teaching at Warwick in Coventry, the UK, because he has a similar channel, and he starts to do also monthly streams. So he's also a member of the network, but he's not with us here. And then there's Kiev, of course. This moment we want to use as an opportunity to invite also new people who maybe have similar ideas and want to join us, because we can do streams ourselves, and we all do streams ourselves, but we have experienced time and again when you stream together, it's very different, different dynamics. Maybe Rome, you can say something about how you came up, in fact, with this idea of hybrid togetherness, and why this streaming together is so essentially different from just broadcasting into the void, into the universe, maybe at large.
Yeah, it could be like a long story, but maybe some points are important. That's the first. This is what we recognize here, like many times, and there are still no answer on this gap between the infrastructure for distribution, presentation of that's what we do, what our students do, what the media and this media culture produce, and it doesn't fit to the white cube tradition, that's institution, and on the other hand, it's grabbed by this big tech centralized platforms, so that we are invisible there, and it's like only kind of the illusion of dialogue, yeah? That's you put your, you give them your content and you are waiting for likes, yeah? And for audience, and it's like a big fake and big misunderstanding of the relational potentiality of the network itself and of our potential relation itself also. And then we recognize that there is maybe possible to create something horizontal, that the remote co-production itself is like the model being together across the network, that we can talk to each other from pictures, that pictures are able to talk to each other. This is something very strange in the history of visual culture and history of the human history itself. And then let's try to hack it, let's try to play with this and mix it across the network in the local scale, like between laptops, because to connect two laptops together is also not easy. It's not like obvious, yeah? It's like something that it's like an architecture starting with a personal computer, developed by this centralized platform, that you have your login, you have your laptop, it's personal, yeah? It's you can connect to the industry, to the network, but it's not that easy to connect directly to other laptop, yeah? It's not like in an interpersonal relation, yeah? So to find this way to create kind of the decentralized architecture in the metaphorical way, it was like a beginning, and working or spending time together, testing that possibility, because it's hybrid, it's unstable, it's like our life, yeah, our relation. So it was like a long process, which I lost completely myself and few people also, and then we continue this, and also it's a paradox. The crisis was the accelerator of some searching for opportunities. And especially the moment at the beginning of the full-scale war in Krakow, especially in Krakow, because it was a very important spot for people who escaped from Ukraine, for people who travel across the border with the support, with some. It was like a communication hub, Krakow, and close, yeah, one of the biggest airport in Ukraine and Europe border, because it's not only about Poland. It's not only. Yeah, so it's a complex, and it's still about. Yeah, this is what we can call it also participatory television, because it's something complete. Yeah, if I want to be 90s.
Yeah, thank you for being 90s. Thank you. Yeah, I would also say it's very clear statement that the psychedelic, let's say, realm that is opened, because I think a lot of the images are more like exploratory, right? And so because it's spheric, right? There is no element of time anymore. Even tonight, and this panel here, we're going to move to the studio and start there from 6 o'clock. So even tonight, you know, we take our time. So we're going to start with 6 hours of live streaming, and we do that together with you. And yeah, so what does it mean when this whole kind of rhetoric, let's say, put together so well by someone like Paul Virilio, you know, when the whole implosion of time in the real time, when there is no time anymore, when everything is 24/7 and the acceleration has reached kind of its top. We know exactly what that is about. Okay, what does it mean when you collectively kind of sabotage that logic, and you turn kind of the creation of images, first of all, into very long experience, and then in an experience that you do even together with very different locations, and also, and it is in tactical media in that sense that it's incredibly cheap. So what you see here is really absolutely trash video in any respect, right? So there is absolutely nothing high-tech about it. And so it means also that the threshold to enter and to start to participate is very, very low. And so that's another aspect. Even though, you know, it's spheric and psychedelic, it's nonetheless it's very, very accessible to do. And it also invites, of course, people who perform, DJs. It's a bit of a question, of course, what the role is in all this of, let's say, critical discourse. We are not competing with journalists in that sense. But Rom, I would like to ask you about that, because sometimes I think you have not really explicitly, let's say, positioned UKRAiNATV as an alternative news channel for the real truth coming from Ukraine, right? You cut with that tradition in a way also not, because sometimes that element comes back, and you sometimes, you know, bring back very, very interesting artists that became soldiers, that had to fight on the front and then return from the front and come to you, to the studio, which are for me the most you know, moving moments at times, right?
Yeah, of course, we do it constantly. I think it's a project that well, a few people. It's sometimes it's impossible to do everything in the same time, to record, to edit, to prepare, to do weekly a few hours live streaming. We call it FU. We did 114 FUs, that's 2.5 hours. So it's like a crazy daily job and archive. Yeah, it's like a 2 terabyte of MP4 compressed archive of many hours. I don't know how 1,000 hours is it finally, and and also this swinging between being like in a way this mediators or artist collective and experiment this testing, this working with infrastructure daily, and also recording the testimonies on inviting people, artists, and doing like a hybrid project across the network or collaborative project across the network. Like we did like a many experimental events that like one performer, one musician was in Kiev or Lődi, for example, another one in Krakow, another one in Trondheim, let's say, and then they did things together, and it was like a mixing in real-time output, and not because they just okay, let's have to across internet because it's fun. Because the limit of the travel for people from Ukraine, for example, to Ukraine, because some of artists are really in the they are soldiers, and we have the possibility to record or to invite them for the live. It's like many times that we have I don't know, interview live, and there is a bomb alarm, and we cut it at any moment. There are many times that we have some event that we are postpone some elements because there is no electricity in Kiev, for example, and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like a still like being in between, being in this Krakow studio, which is a safe space, big green box for many people, but at the same time, this is like a checkpoint.
I would like to ask the Budapest crew something, because about that amount of time. Yeah, you have done 3 really long webcasts so far, and I have to say, you know, we discussed and we watched and we were completely stunned all 3 times. Also, not just about you know what you did, but especially also about the length. You are absolute. You entered the scene and you are already the absolute experts in very long live broadcasting. So this crew can easily do 24 hours. Yeah, really. I mean, for us, for us in Amsterdam, 3 hours is really wow. And you also 5, maybe 5. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so here I want to ask a little bit about how you do this, because we saw a little bit, we saw some performances, drawings, cooking. What else?
I mean, with the 24-hour thing, I think we were put in a deep water because our first stream was a 24-hour stream where we were invited to participate. So we didn't know anything else. Like that was our starting point. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Also to add to that, thinking back, it was quite of a misunderstanding because I think Ron didn't mean for us to do 24 hours, but we thought so. So we were like, okay, we have a meeting for that. So we did it. I mean, I wasn't there personally at the streaming, but. Yeah, so after that.
And what did you do? Did you sleep?
I mean, some of us. Yeah, but I think on the technical side, András can talk more about the 24-hour thing, how we did that. Maybe.
Well, I have a bit of experience as a video technician, so I was able to use those skills to provide the necessary technical. Like as Ron said, it's not obvious how to connect all the cameras and laptops and the stream and the internet connection and everything. So that's where this bit of skill came to good use. But we didn't show it in the trailers, but we also did interviews, and we also went out to protests and reported live from the protests as well. And we also invited random people from the protests to join us in the studio and give interviews there. So this more or less showed the visual side of
the fun
stream.
side.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Could you say about how did they respond, the random people when you took them there?
I mean, so there was at the Baisa Street monument for Navalny, thank you. And we went out there and we videoed that, and we asked people if they wanted to come inside our studio, but they didn't want to come. But afterwards, we some of our one of the students has a friend who's a Russian who's staying here in Budapest, and we invited him to have a conversation with him about everything what's going on. And it was really interesting because he didn't want to show his face, and we also had to figure out how to do that interview to protect his identity as well. So that was also like interesting to do that on a stream, because that stream is really online and yeah. Yeah, exactly, deep water.
And not to forget that András put together how to do this technically.
Yeah, there is also a technical list for what we did, like András did.
It's like how to set up your own stream. It's more of the software side of things. So, like how to do the programs and how to mix like images like this, how to create them.
Open source, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to emphasize this knowledge that this knowledge is accessible, and that we will in the coming months through the Streamout network will spread this essential knowledge of how to do it, or maybe also to demystify it, but also to empower especially young people to work against the influencer logic of TikTok and Instagram, because this is the only type of video file that most people these days are familiar with. They watch YouTube and Netflix and ordinary television almost, right? I mean, there's no difference really anymore. And then there's this other video logic, which is you know, the 30-second influencer style, and this what we do here is a complete opposite alternative to that.
Video is out, streaming is in.
Yeah,
that's
influencer.
No, I think it's also working with archives. It's like actualization. Yeah? It's the process of putting it into present, and this is what you said about it has consequences now. I spent in September. I spent 2 weeks in Amsterdam, and we also visit the new studios in your university. Because this is what we are talking about this infrastructure, the streaming tools and so on. It's not covered by art education, it's not covered even by the media faculties. It's something hybrid, yeah? It's not like the virtual space, it's something that has a longer tradition in education, in rendering stuff, and also video editing. And this sphere is working in real time. It's more related to VJing, it's more related to some, I don't know, that's influencer practices and gaming culture, yes, and that's Twitch culture and so on, YouTubers and so on. And then at your university there is a media and communication faculty school or the department, and 5,000 students are learning exactly the same tools, the Phoenix software, the small studio, how to do this, to support that. So there will be like a crowd of people who with that skills and supporting this mainstream. So this is the context, not the White Cube, the Museum of Contemporary Art, because this is the 20th century history. This is like a war with the church. Yeah, that's art is like a church before the French Revolution. It will exist. It will exist, of course. Like church exists still, and probably will be back. But that's not the context. The context is that's the crowd of people who will work with influencers, who will work for TikTok, for these YouTubers and so on. Build the small studios in the apartments and capitalize this.
Yeah. I have to say that go ahead.
I have a small question about the technological setup, either at this sort of video aesthetic and VJ, gamer sort of visuals. I'm really curious if any of you is using studio mixers, or it's only digital, all the keying and all the masking.
It's all digital.
No mixers.
No.
No,
So
like
no.
mixing gear.
No.
Well,
I think you mean gadgets, right, outside of software.
Reading that is not on the computer.
Well,
yeah,
it's
hardware.
It's possible, but now there's hardware mixers. They are only like an interface extension of the software mixer. So it's like a multiplication of devices sometimes. But the tradition of this analog mixers is also like a part of. It's something that we could do. It could be like a one path for that investigation and mixing of digital and analog video and real-time production. I think there is a big field and connect fields to recognize in this universe.
And supposedly the software mixers are based on their functions are based on the hardware mixers, right?
But they're inside the laptop. So yeah, I have to say, Rom mentioned our visit to the brand new television studios in our Polytech, also in the same building, by the way, where our Institute of Natural Cultures is based. And our school spent, I think, 3 or 4 million to install it. Our start of the Void coincided with the opening of this studio, but very soon when we got access to it, we found out, this is pure irony, can you imagine, two completely distant worlds clashing, or not clashing. They forgot to bring in internet. So this is a huge television studio with even two, for students, and of course there was no facility for the students to do a live stream, because they simply forgot. It was just a studio, and you record something, and
spectacular.
Yeah, spectacular. So this is such a good example of these kind of worlds that have nothing in common.
Can I offer a reflection? Like I feel like now we're just we're just avoiding the mic.
Yeah.
Because like back in '94, we actually had like Van Gogh TV and Van Gogh TV and Vacuum TV, which was this like a Hungarian artist group. And I have to say, I was just thinking now, like, okay, full circle, we're back to TV, and it's not TV. And I wanted, so that's something I just have to make a reflection. And then I wanted to know more, because you see this as a platform that could, as a sort of minor independent platform that could coexist next to something like Twitter and like YouTube, or like other large platforms. So this is something that can live next door, and you anticipate this having at least like mass user base, or a large user base.
Well, our working tactic is to say yes and no at the same time, because this is our PureTube instancing. So we are trying to be next to the YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and other big platforms. We try to create the decentralized, real decentralized peer-to-peer network. There is the Void instances, there's our own. There's also Dane.org. We collaborate with the hackers community from Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Europe. We are part of the PaceSetters research project that it gives us possibility also to spread this idea and to test it with others. And so this is the alternative. But in the same time, we use Restream, which is a kind of the umbrella that gives us possibility to send the signal directly from the studio or the one stream that which is prepared to different platforms. So we are in Facebook, in YouTube, anyway, we are everywhere to test, to check, to ask, to call different audience, and then to ask the same question, is it possible to be outside? Or maybe it's like a transition that first we need to call and ask people around that platform, guys, let's go together. Yeah, or yeah.
I feel like this is a lot to negotiate, plus or less. Because I want to follow on this, there's also, I have to say, Tetsuo Kagawa with Home Run TV, like his own Home Run Radio and his like micro FM, and how that started. He was also invited in '94 and is forever regretting that he didn't show up. He doesn't travel anymore, so anyhow. But there's something, this is sort of micro, like minor media, and I'm kind of curious in like sort of that there's a way of speaking Instagram, there's a way of speaking TikTok, there's a way of speaking YouTube. Like they each have their own sort of like grammar, like visual and like it can be broader or more narrow. Like Vimeo, right? Vimeo is for the like the fancy neighborhood of the internet for moving image. Like YouTube is like the trash. You know, that's where you have bad neighbors. Or like you have loud neighbors. And I'm wondering about how do you see the language of your like zones emerging? Because one thing is like, you know, there's experimentation, you start to test the limitations and you have all of these psychedelic graphics. And at which point does there start to become a way of like speaking that? Because that goes together with my question, because TikTok, they have a formula. You know, like people use it differently, but there's a formula to media. And each one has its own, each one is like its own language. So now if you're learning to use this as a tool, it's like learning a new language. And it's not just technical, it's like visual. What is the format or the best recipe for communicating with these tools?
Yeah.
In the name of what?
I mean, going to Krakow, learning from Kiev also means really fully supporting, understanding, and living the idea of hope. Hope in times of war and despair, and the call from many people from that region to live the utopia now, not tomorrow. And so this means something for the experimentation. And that's why maybe there is this dual strategy, because obviously it fits into the ideas of us all that we want this distributed network of live video connections to run through and with the Fediverse, decentralized network philosophy, while at the same time, there is the urgency of the war, the urgency to speak to others and to be heard. And so we can only say that it takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of time to develop it. We are acutely aware that we might be trapped in the platforms. And Ron, maybe you can say something also about censorship, right? Because the censorship or UKRAiNATV already experienced on the platforms is already quite long and substantive. So there is also a real motivation to work on alternatives.
Yeah, this is part of this disciplination in each platform, that is the different regulations and different languages born in the front of this. It's like a negotiation of possibilities. Yeah? But what is finally possible, or what is what the context is, and what the answer could be? It's probably not the answer. It's like with the geography, it's like a relation between borders. It's about movement across borders. Finally, it's not about to create small alternative outside the system. It's more about this possibility to move across borders, you know? And this is probably the way.
Most dangerous.
Yeah.
Most subversive.
So yeah, this is the most subversive. This is also because what's the YouTube? It's like a digital state. Yeah? It's like a strong digital state with own constitution. It's not a constitution. It's our policy. Yeah? And then if we are able to move with our content, with our audience, with our participants of the network across YouTube, Twitch, to create peer-to-peer, if we are censored there, we are still safe in another place, and then we can combine and create kind of ongoing dialogue across that. It's a freedom. Yeah? It's like a real freedom of movement with the content signals.
I have a question to the participants from the Budapest side.
So can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
To the previous question. Yeah. So then we're going to experiment actually tonight with new formats. So we asked about how it's like YouTube and Twitch and so on. And from my experience, it's usually like the personality is the main part of like who is the face on the screen. But also on Twitch, I saw some really like conceptual stuff, like fish playing video games, and people really enjoy it. So like you have a stream of fish swimming in a tank, and based on its like location, he's pressing buttons and playing a game. So I think like there are lots of possibilities. And tonight we're going to try more of a Twitch language, because we're going to make a gameplay stream. So we collected some games from our students. We're going to play them tonight and like testing out new format.
Yeah, sorry, my question would be, yeah, we talked about like the roles of, or the reasons why UKRAiNATV came to be, and this urgent, pressing issue, the crisis, and so on. I would be interested in how you see these platforms like Budapest side, because you're also facing a crisis of media as well. You're facing Orban regime, and you're facing the hegemony of independent media. And how would you position this platform in terms of the existing or non-existing platforms that we have in Hungary?
I mean, I can start, but maybe I will give the microphone. So, first of all, this is really an experimental thing for us right now. So we didn't quite decide where we want to position ourselves, but it's definitely something that's not related to like the main media things. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think well, I feel that this whole Streamlab thing that we are doing is very exciting also, but very difficult for us. And I think maybe it's a thing with oppression, because in Hungary we don't have full-scale war or anything like that, but we have the regime, and that is definitely oppressive. But there is a difficulty in rebelling against something that is not quite openly oppressing anyone, and there are a lot of difficulties in finding the language in which we can say meaningful things and initiate change in a climate that is very difficult to navigate because it is designed to use people.
And yeah. And I would also want to add that when we did a 24-hour stream, we also had footages from demonstrations which happened at the Hero Square. So we also try to talk about relevant things that happen. So it's yeah.
So like it is an experimentation, and it is like I think it's a try to find a way to get the people to speak.
I have another question, and rather I'd like to bring in a memory that is actually older than MetaForum, and that's Intermental. And there are people in this room that can talk much more smartly about Intermental than I can. So would somebody please explain what Intermental was and its relevance? János, maybe?
Okay, just very shortly, if someone is interested in Intermental, can find a very complete material either at the ZKM's site or as a Wikipedia entry. Intermental was initiated by Gábor Bódai, a Hungarian filmmaker and video maker. He was very influential, and he was impressed by the VHS tape. The VHS tape was the first video distribution, first and the most practical video distribution format, because it was cheap. If it lost on the post, you can easily make a copy. Remember what Shanike said before this afternoon. And it had 9 editions, and each edition was linked to a city and a special editorial board. Gábor Bódai was always a part of the editorial board, Vera Baksasos also, and that's enough right at the moment. And really, you can find lots of. It was a very important initiative because it could be later circulated, making simultaneous screenings. And if we speak about Intermental, we can mention another initiative also by Gábor Bódai and his circle, the European Media Art Networks, M1. And I don't want to talk about it, really please, because my knowledge is really limited in this whole issue. So you can individually look after, and you find lots of stuff.
I want to just want to say that we can continue this discussion also tonight as a part of the stream live and taking it in a very collaborative
could be the topic
also.
Yeah. So and then we will be in the studio setting, and so you can all join us from 6 o'clock onwards. Okay, I'll leave it here. I want to thank all the participants, and again invite all of you to come over to Intermedia Department from 6 o'clock onwards till late in the evening.
And a big thank you for Trafó.
Of course.